Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fallout 76 base building. And today I thought I would answer some of your questions. So ever since I started uploading videos that are focused on the camp mechanics and building and stuff like that, I've received a lot of comments from you guys asking me how do I go about building my bases, and how do I increase my budget, and how do I optimize the budget use and the camp size, how do you increase the camp size. Those are all different questions, so I thought maybe I would try to shed some light on how this works. So let me preface this by saying two things. First of all, I'm still sick, so if you guys hear that my voice is not up to the normal standard, is because I'm sick. And second of all, this is mostly speculative work. I've done a lot of research. I've went through different forums. I went through the Reddit and read a bunch of articles, and most of those are just speculation. No one has shown any sort of like proof or evidence to confirm their claims, but some of these do make a lot of sense. So it's very well possible that we'll get more information as time goes on and as people dig through the game files. So just take this all with a grain of salt. Of course, I'll do my best to illustrate what we know so far, but again, for the most part, it's just people speculating. So yeah. So the first thing that you should know is that the camp size cannot be increased even if you level up. So there's a lot of misinformation going around about your camp size, and I think people are mistaking camp size to budget. So your camp size is basically the area where you can build, and this is set in stone. Basically, you cannot change this. It doesn't matter what level you are. The height and the width of the area that you have to build your base, it's standard for everyone, and it doesn't change regardless of what level you are. It doesn't matter if you're level 1 or if you're level 15 or 20, it doesn't matter. Your camp size, so the area, it's exactly the same. So I do see a lot of misinformation going around saying that the camp size increases as you level up, and I think what they mean is the budget. So the budget does increase. We do not have any measurement as to how it increases, or whether there's a threshold that you need to pass, whether it's every 5 levels, every level. It's hard to know because we don't have any sort of like information on this, but we do know that the higher level you are, the bigger your budget. However, there is a design decision that makes this rather ambiguous, and I don't know if this was intended or maybe it was unintended, but the way the UI displays the total value of the budget and like how much things contribute to that budget, it's rather unclear, and it's mainly because it doesn't have any number associated to it. So if you look at the UI, it just shows the budget, and there's a bar that fills out as you place things on your camp. So due to the fact that there is no number associated to the budget value, and there's no number associated to how much each item contributes to that budget, it all comes down to you just basically gauging what things weigh more in terms of like budget. So it is very confusing to me and to most people, because when you increase your budget value as you level up, the bar doesn't get bigger. It just makes things weigh less on that budget. So it would be better, and we don't have a way to talk about this either, by the way. So it would be better if we had sort of like camp points or something like that. Just as we have action points, something like building points, camp points, some numeric value that allows us to see the total camp budget and what each item contributes to that budget. So yeah, I think camp points would be the best option. Sadly, at this point, we don't have a way to talk about it, so we're stuck with the camp budget. So yeah, I think camp points would be the best option. And it's also very confusing when you see that as you level up, your budget increases, but not by extending the bar itself, but rather by making each item contribute less to the budget. So it's not necessarily that the budget increases, but rather each item contributes less to it, so you're able to place more stuff on your camp. So yeah, if you couple this with the fact that we don't have any numeric feedback, then it makes it very, very confusing. It would be better to have a number associated to each item and to the total budget. But anyway, yeah, the budget can change as you level up. However, the camp size is standard for everyone. Now, we know for a fact that some items take up more of your camp budget than other items. So for instance, a wall costs less than a tinker's workshop, for instance, in terms of camp points, let's call it that, just to add some sort of like currency to this. So yeah, a wall, it's less expensive in terms of camp points than a tinker's workshop, but we don't really know why that is the case. We know for a fact that a turret is the most expensive item that you can place on your camp. So if you have a lot of turrets, it's going to use up a lot of your camp budget, but we don't know why that is. We don't know what the value system is or how this value system came about. There are some theories going around saying that it's based on the polygon count. So by that measurement, it makes sense that a wall, which is a basic shape, would cost less than, let's say, a turret, which has a higher polygon count. But it doesn't really make sense to me why Bethesda would choose polygon count as the value system for your budget. The only explanation I see would be that they're using the budget not as a gameplay mechanic, but rather as a way to control technical limitations, right? So instead of them saying like, we don't want players to have gigantic bases because they could be OP, it's rather the fact that, okay, the higher the polygon count, the more taxing this is going to be on our servers. So this does make a lot of sense, and it follows the same logic that they used for the stash size, which is basically the more items you can store in your stash, then that's going to use up space on our servers, memory space. So that's why they kept the stash size to that, like at that level. So it does follow the same logic, and it's a technical constraint that it's bleeding into like gameplay mechanics, right? And it's hard for me to say like what impact this would have on like the game performance. We know that they have huge areas of just tons and tons and tons of items just being loaded seamlessly. For the most part, we do have some popping here and there, but the number of like loading screens in this game is rather low, I would say. So we don't know how this actually affects the game, and we know for a fact that when you log out, your base basically disappears. It's not there anymore. And I've had some reports of people saying that if someone builds or claims a space like on top of your base, then your structure disappears and you lose all the items. That's something weird. That's a report that I'm seeing. I'm gonna do some detective work, right? Detective Pikachu work, and I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on there, and I'll report back with some more information. But for now, that's all that we know about the camp mechanic. So just to summarize here, the camp size is fixed. You cannot change it. The area where you can build is fixed. It does depend on the, sort of like the terrain that you choose. So if you have more of a flat terrain, you're going to be able to make use of it in a better way. But the size itself, the height and the width does not change. The budget does increase as you level up, but is not visible through the current UI. You're not going to see any change on the bar. You're not going to have any numeric feedback telling you whether or not you have a bigger budget. You're just going to have to gauge it as you go on. You're just gonna have to determine that as you go on and as you place items. And one of the theories out there is that the bigger the polygon count, the more the item contributes to that budget. So if you want to have a huge base, then you're gonna have a low polygon huge base. So for instance, a lot of walls, a lot of floors, but not many workbenches, tinker's workshop, cooking stations, none of that stuff. So that's basically the way to optimize your space and build a bigger base, but you're not gonna have as many decorations and items inside. So it's sort of like a trade-off. That's up to you to decide what you want to do. If you want to build something big and simple, or small with a lot of details, that's up to you. Now, they did say that they were gonna increase the stash size, so there is a possibility that they're gonna increase the camp budget as well. Let's hope so we can build more intricate bases, and maybe they'll add some more items to place, more building items. That would be great. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure there's a lot of changes coming to this game. They're going to support this game for a long time. So just sit down and relax and wait for them to add some of these changes that we're asking for. Give them time to react, and hopefully they'll listen to us. So anyway, thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, remember to leave a like, maybe consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.